Did you ever go back to Buds as an instructor?
Not an instructor, but I went to secure my centennial class, so I got to see that. But I would have loved to, by the way. I just didn't
What
get
a
chance to.
fascinating laboratory
Yeah,
for failure.
yeah.
Because I don't know your experience when our class started with 180. I don't think I ever saw or talked to a dude who quit.
Yeah.
Because if you like running to lunch and talking to Bob and you're running back and Bob's gone and you're just like, whatever.
Yeah.
And they moved out of the barracks and you're moving on and their life takes a different trajectory.
Yeah.
As an instructor, you get to spend time with those students. So you talk to them. And there's a variety of ways that they describe it. Sometimes it's really sad. Actually, there'll be a catastrophic like family incident, like a death.
Yes, and they can't. Yeah.
And it's like, you know what, man, come back whenever. Actually, you're doing the right thing.
Yeah,
If you hadn't have done this, if the instructor staff found out about it, we actually might have petitioned to have you administratively removed so you can handle that.
Yeah.
Other than that, though, when they made the decision to quit, my words, not necessarily theirs, and I'm combining a lot of feedback over a lot of students who were pretty emotionally low, and I was always just cool. I would just talk with them about it. And at this point, I wasn't a threat to them in my blue and gold T-shirt anymore.
Right.
And I just said, well, what was it like? And I'd ask him,
With genuine curiosity.
And I would ask him, kind of walk me through your headspace when you showed up here. Were you convinced that you were going to graduate? All of them say yes.
Yeah.
Is this something that was along the lines of a singular focus in your life before you got here? They all say yes. Yeah. If I would have asked you on day one if there was anything I could have done as an instructor to make you quit, what do you think you would have said? They're like, no way, I'm going to be there on graduation. And so they're sitting there, and I talked to them. So what was it? And it was so many different versions of the same thing. Mm-hmm. I got to a place where I was either cold or tired or in pain or frustrated, and I didn't think I could do it for as long as what was going to be required of me.
Yes.
So not that I was there doing a socioeconomic experiment, I 100% took that information and weaponized it because I realized it really is about, you describe it in terms of moving your horizon. I describe it in the lens of your optic of time.
Yeah.
As a student, your optic needs to be so myopic and narrow. And so my goal as an instructor, all I would try to do is get you to think big.
Think big, yeah.
How far, where are you at? Yep. Where do you want to be? Let's just focus on the space.
Yeah.
Can you be this cold for another 162 more days?
Right.
It was more effective than every tool that the instructors have access to.
Yeah.
You want to make people, let's be honest, it's enhanced by the other tools as well, too. You catch people in a little suppressed mindset, a little hypothermic, a little cold. They've been up longer than they've ever been up. And you start talking to them about, on Tuesday on Hell Week, there's nothing saying you can't say it's Monday morning.
Right. Right. Oh, yeah. That's right. Yeah.
I've had students say, we always knew what time it was because we'd look at your guys' watches. I'm like, did you ever consider I said it wrong? Because I was a student once too, you dumbass.
Although, good job trying to look at the watch.
Totally. But we knew you were going to because we were a student too. So we'd all get together and be like, set your watch back a day. Or this is the time it's going to be.
Right. Yeah.
It was all time though. It was a matter of becoming overwhelmed.
Yes.
So this begs a question because I've thought about this too. The military has spent so much money on that particular pipeline. Mm-hmm. What do you think would be the change in outcome, if any, if they made a concentrated effort to teach people that concept and have them practice it before?
So, yeah.
Because like you said, I was exposed to it very young when I was working for my dad on a construction site. I remember it. I was a hod carrier, so I carried bricks and made like mortar. I was 11. I might have weighed 90 pounds. And I remember a specific job site. There was like 20 pallets of McNear Common red bricks. And for people not familiar with pallets of bricks, they come in 500s. And I wasn't strong enough to carry 2 tongs. So I could carry 6 at a time.
Yeah.
Where he wanted them was not near where they were.
Of course, yeah.
And I don't know why I was the only employee tasked with said moving of these red bricks.
Yeah.
But that's what I was given.
Yes.
You want to talk about being just hit with a tsunami of being overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And I don't remember if it was my dad who said something to me or I figured it out on my own, but I just hit play on a jukebox because that's what we had. Massive D-cell batteries.
Sure, of course.
Probably a CD. Might have even been FM.
Probably cassette. Yeah.
Could have been FM radio.
Yeah.
And I just did 6 at a time.
Yep.
I think it took me like a week.
Yeah.
But 6 at a time. And I wouldn't think about anything outside of that journey. And you can extrapolate that all the way forward. And I do agree that I think most people that show up at Buds have had some exposure to that.
So here's a funny
Then
story.
why do they quit?
Here's a funny story because my experience is almost identical. My dad, grew up in Connecticut. My dad did not like using central heat, so we had a fireplace, and so he used to have cords of wood delivered in the driveway.
Nowhere near where he wanted it stacked.
Well, we had to stack it up at the front door. Now here's the deal. The front door is from our driveway. The front door was closest if you went up the stairs and then stacked, but then you had to carry it by hand. Okay, you could only carry 5 or maybe 4 or 5. Or you could take a wheelbarrow and go around the house up this little hill and take wheelbarrow loads. So my brother and I, it was our job to move the wood, and we're like, okay, we're going to do wheelbarrow. We didn't ever look at the whole pile. We just did wheelbarrow after wheelbarrow after
There's
wheelbarrow.
no point in looking at the pile.
And you didn't look at the pile until they're like, oh, wow, we're almost done, right? This is exactly what it is. And I've talked to people. I talked to a lady I was talking to this about, and she said, I used to do long, triathlon level swims. And she said, I remember when I used to swim, I used to pick out markers. And that was those were my
micro
rewards.
rewards.
Yeah, micro rewards. And so, but this is an exact manipulation that we're talking about.